Welcome to another live video with me, and in today's video we are going to be discussing how to create relatable content. This particular video is part of the Handwork Money series. In case you don't know, Handwork Money is the series we have been creating, or a program I have created for people who are into skill work and those who have small businesses want to use to leverage the internet and everything that got to do with digital marketing to make their business profitable, or as profitable as it should be. So the last time we started the series, so we discussed about the understanding your audience. Now, this understanding your audience has been something that almost everybody has been talking about, so it sounds like a repetitive topic anytime you hear somebody talking about it. But guess what? We spent over 30 minutes talking about only this one, that topic the last time I was live here. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to this channel, and of course like this video, share it with anybody you believe it will help, and share this video even if you are watching live. Today we are going to be talking about creating relatable content. Now the series, the title of this live series is heart to heart selling, heart to heart marketing, how to sell to your audience using relatable content, how to sell to your audience using relatable content. And of course you may see that this background is different. Yes, this is the new view of my corner office. If you own a business or you are a skill worker, you will discover that your idea don't matter. Yes, your ideas don't matter. In fact, no product ever sold itself. Yeah, as anywhere. No product ever sold itself. Let me give you an example of Apple. Apple was designed and marketed by two Steve. So the two of them, they are Steve. So one Steve is good at the marketing, while the other Steve is not that good at marketing, but it's very good at developing the product. So he's very good at developing the product, but not as good as the other Steve. And of course, if I ask you which of the Steve of iPhone or the Apple company you know, definitely you are going to be telling me about Steve Jobs. But of course, this Steve Jobs was not the real guy. Yes, if you know the story, the real guy was the guy designing at the background. But Steve Jobs have the skill of selling whatever the other guy was designing, and that was the main thing that made the company what it was. And then taking an example of the Apple again, let's look at what Steve Jobs do while trying to promote his company. They create content. Yes, they create content. Yeah, so they create content that resonates with people. They create content that resonate with people, with their need and everything. Still using the Apple company, let me give you another example. When Apple wanted to launch the music store, so they were looking for a way to market it, and then I don't know whoever, or I think as at then, there is this guy called I forgot his name, but maybe I will remember his name as I continue to tell you the story. But he's one of the big marketer. In fact, he's one of the people who built the Apple company as a marketing leader in the company. So they came up with an ad which said, you can have 1,000 songs in your own pocket. What? 1,000 songs in my own pocket? Now, as at the time we are talking about this, when you want to get like that 1,000, song in your music library or in your playlist, you are going to have a Ghana must go, yeah, or a very big bag to pack your CDs inside. But they simplified it. The team built it, but it has to go out. So Steve Jobs has to market it. I don't know why I'm forgetting this guy's name, but it is just what it is. I think I have one of his book. I think I have one of his book here, but I don't know why I'm just forgetting his name. So that was exactly what happened. So what am I trying to tell you? Simple stuff. Before your products can get profitable, you have to market it. No product ever sold itself. And then I've been giving you an example of Apple, and then you say, okay, this is Apple. I don't have that much. I don't have the billions of marketing budget that Apple has. So how am I going to do this? Yes, the answer is simple. Since the advent of internet, everything has become simplified. This is a story I have told many times. If you have ever come to any of my webinar and I talk about marketing, leveraging digital means. In 2016, I got my first ever clients using digital means, which means the client discovered me online. So I was able to get this job. This job is about 200K, and it took me about 3 weeks to finish. So what did I do? I reinvested part of this money into learning Facebook advertisements. First of all, from Google Skill for Africa. I believe that is still existing, but I can't really guarantee. And then from there, I invested into another paid course, which skyrocketed my skill work on the internet. So as at then, Facebook advertisement was exactly 190 naira. So it was very cheap, not now that everything has skyrocketed. So I began to use 200 naira daily to get my business viewed, or to get my my ceiling design craft in front of a minimum of 1,000 every single 24 hours. And guess what happened? Everything skyrocketed. This 2016, this is over 8 years, and I've been using digital means to promote my ceiling design craft. And as I talk to you now, as at the time I make this video, 90% of the people I work for are based outside of Nigeria. 90% of the people who I've worked for we are currently working for, they are based outside of Nigeria. So how did I do it? This is not a millionaire marketing strategy. It is simple leveraging digital means to promote your business, and that is exactly what I want to discuss with you when I say handwork money. Yeah, so let's now come to how to create a relatable content. How to create a relatable content. So a relatable content is simply a content that your audience have to understand. Of course, if you are watching this and you have not watched the first series, or that is the first live video where I talk about how to understand your audience, then you need to go back and watch that also, because it is the foundation of everything I will be sharing with you here. Because, like, let me tell you the truth, there is nothing you can do without understanding, or if you don't understand the people you are serving or the people you want to market to. So the first step to relatable content is to understand your audience. So how to create relatable content then? The first thing that you need to create a relatable content is telling stories. Yes, content sells, relatable content sell even more, and then story content sell every time. Yes, telling story is the greatest way to get your audience hooked to whatever you have to tell them, and more importantly, to get them to take actions. Now, from the beginning of this video, after introducing this series, I told you two stories. One, the one of Steve Jobs, or the one of the Apple company and how it was formed through marketing. And then I told you my own story, something I experienced from my first clients online. So these things resonate more with people. I can come here and begin to give you lines and everything, but it's not going to work that way. You get the point. That is why I teach more using examples more than anything else. So you need to tell story. You need to tell compelling stories. So not just any other story. Yeah, you can't just come up and then you begin to tell any other story. Of course, we have what we call signature stories. Those stories are stories that those are your brand story. If you take an example of Robert Kiyosaki, the money teacher, if you take an example of Russell Brunson, the cell phone guy, if you take an example of just think of any big brand that you know. If you take their example, you discover that they have a signature story. So we have the signature story, and then we have event or circumstance or case study appropriate stories. That is the two I just told you, from practical examples and scenarios. And then you have the relatable stories. Now, relatable stories can actually relatable story must not be true stories. Yes, let me establish that as a matter of fact. Relatable stories, they are good if they are real life stories, but there must not be real life stories. Yes, because you can just create a fictional scene and tell stories about it, or tell a story about it as it relates to whatever it is that you are going to sell. I want to give an example of let's say you are selling a malaria drug. You just discover a malaria supplement. It is a supplement. Is a malaria supplement. This can be organic, this can be anything at all. So you discover the product and you want to sell it. You must not give a case study of a real person, because this real person, even though it may be true, there are some laws in the medical line that will prevent you from using that story, because it can be a breach of privacy. Yeah, it can be a breach of privacy. The same thing applies to lawyers. If you are if you are in the kind of my own industry, this can be relatable too, but not as much as it applies to this malaria drug that we are talking about. So what you can tell a story. Let me just try and do one so that you use that. You can use that as an example, or you might have seen it. You might have seen people doing it already. So you can say something like, you can say Nkechi is a middle class woman who is into trading, sells from morning till 9 or 8 p.m. before he come back. He live in a middle class or a poor area where it is a normal thing for children to play outside and even to sleep outside until their mother bring them to the house to bed. Because Nkechi is always at the shop from morning till 9, his children don't know how to flit the rooms. They don't have mosquito net, or most of them they just sleep without mosquito nets. Almost every month Nkechi is treating malaria, and these malaria drugs in the market, they are not cheap. These malaria drugs in the market, they are not cheap. So Nkechi is forced to always be spending nothing less than 15 to 30,000 every single month. Now he has discovered this malaria drug that is being sold for 3,000 naira and can help prevent children from getting malaria. Now, this is a fictional story told in a relatable way. Somebody living in somebody living in Lekki, Maitama, Asokoro, like the people who really have money to live in those places, they won't need to hear, or they don't need your medicine. But the person living in a poor area needs this. So you must tell your story as it relates to those people living in poor area, because 15,000 to somebody living in Maitama to treat himself means nothing, but a lot it means to the person living in a poor area. So I don't know if you are getting the points. You are telling Nkechi that your medicine is for her because she cannot afford to be spending 30,000 naira or 30,000 of whatever currency in per month treating only malaria. It will ruin her. But if she can just use 3,000 to get whatever it is that you are selling, see her having a peace of mind. So it is relatable. So fictional stories also sell. There must not be real story. The next story that sell, or the next story that is relatable and is one of the relatable way to sell, is to use personal story or brand story. So brand stories mostly or many of the time, they are story of the founder of the business. Yeah, their story, a story of the brand owner, the founder of the business. Of course, we are still discussing about the handwork money, which if you are watching the replay of this, you can always check the link in the description to sign up for the handwork money program. You can also check other of my resources where I talk about marketing, personal growth, sales, digital marketing, and everything in between. Let me also give you another example. There is this man called Ogochukwu. He's a premium business strategist and mentor, and he's also one of the top people that teach about finance. So I was watching one of his video he made 8 years ago. He has a child. He says he's not physically challenged, but like naturally he's a physically challenged person. But he's able, and then he's schooled in Nigeria, but he's able to work for some of the top 500 company, top 500 company in the world. So he told a story about how he wanted to go to a school even though he could not walk as a result of how the polio affected his legs. And then every morning he will come out to sit in front of the he will come on to sit in front of his father's gate, and one day somebody gave him a helping hand, and that was how his story transformed. He has been telling that story since 8 years, because after hearing that story, I began to listen to him more, because he gives you some kind of brain busting sense that if you follow, you are definitely going to get a result. So I began to follow him, and then I discovered one of his video he made. He was interviewed 8 years ago, and he was still telling that same story. So that is what we call either personal story, that is the brand owner story, or signature stories. So that is his own signature story. Of course, I just told you part of the story, so that part is just part of his signature story. Anywhere he go to, he tell you that story, so that story stick to your mind. If you read from Robert Kiyosaki, you will discover the same thing, that he tell this story repeatedly. If you read from most people, the same thing happen. So that is his own signature story. So you can use signature story to create relatable content, because the same way you are into that issue, or the same way you are able to overcome the same issue that you are able to overcome, many of the people you are trying to help are in that same situation. So when you tell your story that is from your personal experience, they will be able to say, okay, this guy can overcome this. Definitely, I'm going to let me just try him. So let me also tell you another one. Recently I was talking to a client, and the client actually thought I'm an Hausa person from Nigeria. So we began to discuss. I'm not an Hausa person, so but I stay in the north, I stay around the north, so I'm just familiar with their whatever. So I began to tell him some of the story of he began to tell me some of the story, how he went to NYC in the north and everything, and then I began to tell her my own story as well, and he said, no, if this is your story, then I am ready for us to do this. And of course, that is how I'm able to just seal everything without any hassle. Of course, it will not happen with every client, because as at that point, the story, of course, it is strategic, but at that point, the story I told her resonated with her. It was a relatable story. So I believe you will understand this. So it is a relatable story. So the story relates with her. The story relates with her. So she said, oh, this story relates with me. So take this deal. So you need to begin to use your brand story. Another story you can use to create relatable content is to use client testimonial or experience with clients. Now let me also tell you, of course, I tell you a lot of personal stories. So like, in fact, sometimes I even feel maybe like this is like a bragging, or maybe I'm overtelling it. But of course, I don't think that is the case, bro. There was my second client I got online. So I got the client online. He said, okay, go to my place, and I was there, and everything was set, and then he made payment, and of course something happened. Of course, you know how Nigeria, the NEPA can take the lights anytime, and then you begin to look for ways. So since I have traveled from Abuja to the place, my power bank and everything was off, so I have to go and charge the phone like 2 hours, and messages, everything, everywhere. I said, what is happening? So immediately I called his sister, I called him, and then to make their mind calm down. Then when I call them, I begin to tell them the different story of people who I've worked for, who are not even in Nigeria, but I am able to work for them. They trust their money into my hand, so they calm down. I can tell you, as a matter of fact, they never disturb it. As a matter of fact, they never, of course, we did a selling job for them. They never came to the site even once until we completed the job. Automatic trust. So you tell different story to achieve different goal depending on the situation. Yeah, depending on the situation. And of course, that is one thing we teach at the handwork money program. You need to know what to use at a particular point in time. There will be time where you will get into trouble as a craftsperson or as a small business owner. You need the skill of negotiation. Yeah, you need the skill of negotiation. In fact, like the skill of negotiation is a very, very important part of any business. So you need this skill. So that is another way of creating a relatable content. In fact, I think I've discussed 4 different ways already. So those are some of the way to create relatable content. Another way to create relatable content is like something you read somewhere or an example of experience somebody had. Yeah, it is another way to create relatable content. Something happened to your friend, of course it is not a matter of they tell you secret, you go and tell it somewhere. No, this is they tell you know that these things happen, and of course you know if you tell this story without calling the person's name, it's not going to breach their privacy. Not your friend tell you something that is a secret, you want to use it as a story to sell your market. So those are some of the things you need to know about how to create relatable content. Again, I'm Lokosu Sylvain, just as you know already, and I believe this creating relatable content live video really help you. And of course, share this video with anybody you believe it will help. And more importantly, comment on under this video. And of course, if you have any question for me, drop it right there in the comment section and I will be available to answer them. And the next time we are going to be discussing in the heart-to-heart marketing series is content distribution. Yes, I've told you how to create content. I've shown you how to create content. Tell you different kind of way to create relatable content. The next thing we are going to be discovering is how to distribute this content so that the people who really need it will get to see it. So see you in another live video.